What's going on, everybody? It's your host, Done Love to Connect, and I am back again with another episode. As you can see, I am joined by another returning personality. So I'm going to pass it off to her so she can introduce herself.
Okay. Well, do you want me to still be introducing myself? Okay. I'm Catherine Clark. That's what I am out here in the streets. I don't know if I'm supposed to be telling you what it is that I do, but I do a little bit of everything. So, yeah. I say I'm socially awkward. You just left me here.
I had to grab the other microphone so we didn't have to share. But I'm glad that I'm not glad you're feeling socially awkward, but I'm glad that that emotion was referenced because that goes into really the topic of what I wanted to talk about today, which was the theme of embarrassment and really just how it's understood, felt, and then what essentially triggers the feeling, and how to really get through it so that you can move forward from it. So I guess the first question I have, and it's not just for you but for myself as well too, what are some feelings that you understand when you acknowledge embarrassment?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, I don't acknowledge embarrassment. I don't get embarrassed very often. I'm naturally a clumsy person, as you know, so there really should be no room for me to be embarrassed with as many things that I do, as many things that I run into, or how many times I hurt myself, or all in my mouth, brother, and all of the things and such. But when I did used to get embarrassed about things or about me being myself, I think the feeling of shame would be there. But that's the only thing that I can, I guess, recollect. Shame and like your body feeling hot, at least for me.
No, I feel that because it honestly, it's definitely double-sided for me as well too. But in the regards of, I understand embarrassment and I understand the elements of embarrassment that everyone can really find unity in considering the experiences that everybody has with it in general. But that would be more so an understanding of what I have on the surface level. I'm weak. That would be more so an understanding that I have on the surface level, because, like, to your point, more in depthly, it's not that I don't feel embarrassment. I just don't recognize it as an embarrassing moment, just a moment for me to learn from, because when embarrassment is triggered, it's honestly and truthfully influenced by the external energy that is surrounding me. And on top of that, a lot of the times, for me personally, an embarrassing moment involves me dissecting elements of, like you were saying, your clumsiness, or elements that led me into the embarrassing moment that is either tied directly to my actions and, just what I am doing in general, or to things that are uncontrolled by me, especially if, that common embarrassing moment is like missing a step, going up the stairs and some shit like that. And somebody see it, like, shit, fuck it, like,
Yeah.
that's just the human experience.
Because it doesn't matter. And he was halfway distracting me. So I was still hearing what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
But he was really that being rambunctious. Yeah, I think being embarrassed doesn't make sense because you're just a human being and it's your first time living. So I think the only time that I experience any form of embarrassment is when I find myself moving or acting in ways that I've already stated no longer serve me. Then I'm like, oh, okay, no, that's embarrassing. And then I stop and reframe and backtrack and then go from there.
So that's a good point too, though, because that's actually another aspect of embarrassment that I wanted to get into, because especially like being in the public eye in general, in whatever capacity it shows up, even from the smallest scale to the largest, it still opens one's actions to a level of scrutiny that can lead to continuous instances of embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
And that those aspects or that journey is dependent on what you receive as, I get, not an audience member, but what you receive from an audience member that is looking at your situation from a third party perspective. And to your point, you were saying how internally in an embarrassing moment, you're not necessarily prioritizing the understanding of what people are saying externally, but what you are recognizing from yourself in regards of actions or thought processes that no longer serve you, or things that you have wanted to walk away from previously.
Yeah, exactly. It used to be about audience members, but then I was like, y'all are just extras. I'm the main character in my story. This is my show. So why is it that I'm writing in the script to be embarrassed about a perspective someone outside of the main storyline is saying? I guess it's just the way I think about life, since it's already so beautifully tumultuous, at times melancholy, but also tiresome. And when you reframe your way of thinking, not of this society or of this realm necessarily, then you do start looking at it like that. Like, it doesn't matter what it is everybody else has to say or what they think or what they feel about what it is that I'm doing. Because you're either going to like it or you're not, but I'm not going to be embarrassed about it, because at the end of the day, I'm being myself. So if I'm embarrassed about being myself, then I have a bigger problem, because now I've allowed you to penetrate the perspective that should matter the most, which is mine.
Yeah, I feel that, and honestly, that a part of that is what I process as well in my own application of the mindset that I adopt in order to like work forward from that. Mm-hmm. Because it's even like not so serious, but like even like the lighthearted stuff, like I said, like just like missing a step or like fucking tumbling when you walking down the street or something. Like, to me, even from the smallest degree, it's just a human experience. Now, you don't want it to happen because you are also surrounded by external individuals, and honest and truthfully, like, a part of getting through embarrassment is also acknowledging what you know somebody else is going to say who is not you. And yeah, when you're processing that understanding of what a comment is, whether someone physically says it or you never come across it directly in person, but you know because of how somebody else you may be cool with thinks or responds to something that you're now in the situation of doing, you can be like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I know somebody probably would say X, Y, Z, A, B, C. Anyway, I'm saying all that to say, like, knowing that that actually exists is a part of digesting the moment that is happening. But for me personally, digest that because I know it is true and I know that is the realistic response that somebody outside of myself will probably do. But at the same time, I also acknowledge it for the fact that I'm not embarrassed of it because either it's happening for a reason or I'm supposed to learn something from where I am currently in this moment. And this is exposing it, or this is a trigger that is exposing what I need to pay attention to in regards of what I need to do for myself and my journey too.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
So, what's your next question?
I mean, that's a good one because honestly, and it's kind of been spoken on about already, which is why I didn't ask it before now, but to kind of expound upon it, what are some things that is highlighted to you when you're moving past an embarrassing moment that maybe you were ready to face and acknowledge and accept it and let it roll off your back versus seeing when an embarrassing moment can be constricting in someone deciding to move forward in their next steps of actions.
So, like, what is it that I do when processing the embarrassing moments versus what someone else does?
Well, not necessarily how you process it, but I'm trying to speak into the regard of how that embarrassing moment affects you in any actions that you do or try to prevent from doing again to reduce the chances of that embarrassing moment happening.
It just depends on the size of the embarrassment, I guess. Like, if it's something big and it's like, oh, I kept doing that and I didn't learn that lesson, and I just kept going back to that same, sir, how disrespectful. And I kept going back to that same, now we gotta censor you, situation, then I probably would just be like, it's embarrassing because I didn't learn the lesson. And because I didn't like how I felt or the person that I was while in the situation or while in the midst of the lesson, that is what it is. I always revert back to in my brain for me to never go back to that form of embarrassment. When it comes to like some small shit or like something that I don't think is a big deal that someone else might view as a big deal, or let's say you have situations where you choose to work with someone and what it is that they view to be embarrassing, you do not view to be that. And they may have gotten secondhand embarrassment from you or something in that regard too. I think that at the end of the day, if it was not a big deal to me, I'm not saying it shouldn't be a big deal to you because you are open to whatever opinions or feelings it is that you are wanting to acquire. But the feelings that last for me the most are not from someone else's secondhand embarrassment or from little small things that are probably not going to matter to me in 24 hours. It's mainly me taking the actions of remembering the ways in which I felt and the versions of myself that I didn't like when I was in a constant loop of a lesson I wasn't learning. That was embarrassing as fuck. Let me never do that again. And so that's how I go about that.
That's real. I mean, it's a mix of all of that, because at the end of the day, embarrassment, again, is just a sociological understanding.
Yeah.
Because of different environments that people have been placed into and the conditions at which they have created patterns towards and understandings from, how do I say this? Not necessarily traditions, but repetitive actions. And I know for me, even if I do, not even if, because I do feel the embarrassment, I just don't internalize it for myself. Because I know at the end of the day, like, either, again, something happened where it was out of my control and it's just like, okay, it is what it is. Or it is because of me, but I may not have had the context to understand that this is considered embarrassing. Kind of speaking to that secondhand embarrassment that you were referencing. And then, or third, yeah, I do see how this is embarrassing, but again, like, this is just, it's kind of like an out of body experience where it's like, this is happening because it was meant to, so now I need to pay attention to, like, other details of this situation that this may be highlighting for me to, like you were saying, learn from and not do again. Because whatever level or spectrum the understanding of embarrassment actually falls under, that knowledge of knowing, okay, I still have to move forward from this regardless, is always coining in my head. So I try to understand how to evaluate the situation, and then after acknowledging all the details, I just be like, okay, well, I'm human. So, like, at the end of the day, I'm still getting downloads of actions to do in my present day, where it's like, I can't allow this feeling of embarrassment to stop me from entering a room or to stop me from going out and doing what I know I need to do.
Yeah, that's like, and I think embarrassment is interesting because it's definitely a sociological form or concept of, like, bullying, I guess, in a sense. Because when you think about it, the only time people actually get embarrassed is when someone else has highlighted something that is supposed to be quote unquote embarrassing. And originally, you probably didn't view it as that. You probably didn't think that. Like, if your mom calls you a name or you have a nickname or something happens in that nature, right? Like, for example, my family calls me Cece. Outside people don't call me that. I remember when I was younger, I was in an after school program and my mommy had came to pick me up, and she was just like, I'm here for Cece, so I had some initials like Catherine, whatever. And some boy heard it. He had started laughing, and I ended up getting embarrassed at my name because he made a joke about it and the kids were laughing, and so then I had tripped because I'm clumsy on top of that. And the little dresses that we have, but they have like skirts or like the shorts in school. They look like overalls, but it's a dress, but there's shorts up under it. I tripped and my dress ended up going over my head, so you just saw my shorts. So it was just a whole series of events that were happening back to back, but it was only because I got embarrassed off of some shit that I never was embarrassed about because of some dusty ass little boy. And then other things happened that then were considered embarrassing. But I still went to school the next day. Like, so many different things happened, right? Like the time I told you about me getting sick and throwing up all over the desk with the kids and then throwing it down the hallway to get to the nurse. That should have never let a young girl like me get back in the school buildings confidently. But I didn't give a shit. I still went to school the next day and the next day after that. And every time someone has tried to make me feel embarrassed or make me feel small about something, you may have tried, you may have gotten maybe like this close, maybe. Zoom in on the closeness, but a bitch has never won. I still do my thing, embarrassing and all, because it's only embarrassing because you don't have the balls or the guts to do it yourself or to be shamelessly open.
That's real. And as you were going through your story, I was like, yeah, I've been through a lot of embarrassing things as well too. Like, I mean, shoot, like, I can tell some stories.
Yeah.
But I know we are ending close to the episode, so I wanted to give it a chance to where you could ask me any questions in regards to embarrassment or not, but yeah.
Okay. Well, because I feel like you was asking me questions, but I wanted to know some questions about embarrassment. So my question, I guess, can be both for both of us as well again. But you answer first this time. Do you feel as though the place you are in your life is embarrassing?
No. I feel it's frustrating because I know the appropriate skills to apply to manage not just the assets, but the different aspects of my personal and professional life.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel as if what I have to lean on right now is able to support the level of efficiency that I would implement for myself personally, for my unique situation. So it's frustrating because I already have a concept of materialistic things, and even having a concept that acknowledges that materialistics are not necessarily the highest priority of importance. It is something that is necessary when you live in a 3D world. And it's appropriate and it's necessary to appropriately manage those physical assets and however they show up for you. So even now, like, I know for a fact, just being able to breathe alone and being able to access clean water and some form of consistent, like, stable housing or like roof over my head, everything else is extra. Like, so I don't get embarrassed with where I am right now. I have to filter my understanding to how others understand it as well too, and that sometimes can generate getting actual feelings of embarrassment when I have to explain sometimes, and then somebody will look at me like, "Oh, what? How you did it?" Well, it's like, it's just a card, man. Like, you can get it. Like, it's not that big of a deal, but these are the situations that happen because of X, Y, Z, ABC. And sometimes people do. I can feel embarrassment when it's latched onto me versus before I can feel it for myself internally, because all I need is fucking fire and a flame. I don't even need electricity, you feel me? Like, do I want electricity to power the wind? Yes, but I would like to be paid for the time to build a fan if I have to build a fan. You know what I'm saying?
I do, and I understand. Yeah, I do. Because I was going to say something, but it left my brain. Oh, to say that you do not have the resources in which it is that you're needing to stand on. You may not have what it is you feel is you're running to stand on. You have everything it is that you need to stand on because you have been standing. It might be a little lame with it, rock with it from time to time, but it's not, stop it, it's not that you are not standing sufficiently. You have the things in which you need. We just have to look at it. When we think we don't have the things in which we need to stand sufficiently in a foundation that may not look as secure or strong as it used to us, we have to take a step back and look at the post that we stand on. And be like, oh, it has a little bit of this on there, and I remember when I had to do this and that got added to the post. Or shit, I did have to do that recently, and that did give me some more strength to realize I am capable of a lot more than I thought I was in that very moment. And that gave me a little bit more strength in my post to stand on. So forth and so on. Right? So you are having things to stand on sufficiently. You might not think you do.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I do know that already.
Yeah, but in the opening part, you said it may get frustrating sometimes because you feel like you don't have what it is you need to stand on what it is you're trying to do.
Well, I meant it in the sense of like, for the actual like visions that I don't have those elements to execute that specifically, and I do acknowledge it as it being something that is just temporary. But I was saying everything else I said, well, acknowledging that, and with everything else I was saying, I was trying to highlight that my basic, my foundation, I know that foundation is already solidified. That's why everything else I have now in my current situation is just extra to accommodate the vision that I keep referencing in regards of like what I'm managing all of these assets to. So it's kind of like that's why I don't get those feelings of embarrassment, to answer your question, from my current situation, because my survival needs are more than well taken care of. Like, shoot, I'm good. I promise you I'm good. Like, I know for a fact that to eat, live, and breathe, God got me. However, the other aspects of like how people, or just the logistics of what is considered to be true in this 3D space and area, having that context, that's where, from others' perspectives, where the embarrassment may come in at. But because I know that my true foundation is good, I don't get embarrassed, because I know everything that I have, I received it with gratitude, because I didn't have to, but I did. So I know, regardless of if everything shut off for me, I'm still breathing. Shoot, like, okay, the lights ain't working, light a candle. Hey, you talking about, like, I ain't afraid of it. If I gotta make sure I'm strategizing to use the daylight, even, okay, shoot, use the daylight, do everything I need to do with light, boom, 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 boom. Once it get dark, all right, cool, that's the marker. Everything else, I gotta be able to do that with or without it. So, yeah.
Okay. Yes, I receive, and I can say the same in relation of my life to answer the question as well. Outside of that, I had another question. I guess it's in relation of embarrassment, but see, that's not a real thing to me. It's not a real concept. And so, what is it that stays with you in a relation of embarrassment? Like to where it's still, to where it is something that lives in your world.
I guess how people around me respond to it, and that's kind of something that sticks with me because I guess a lot of the times that's the lessons that I take from those moments, because it shows me what aspects of just living in my authenticity are able to be received. Because again, like embarrassing moments, like it's really just a reflection of humanity for me. Like humanity is not perfect, so every instance that we live is not gonna be all squeaky clean. So I just take how people not just respond to it, because everybody receives responses differently, like, and reactions differently, but more so how people talk about it directly. Because I like, even if something embarrassing happened to me, I would want something embarrassing happen and then someone talk to me directly like, yo, I saw this and I XYZ ABC. But like some people get uncomfortable if you bring up something that would be considered embarrassing, even if you're just asking a genuine question of like, or like, how did you feel in this moment, or like, or asking about details to make sure that one, because sometimes somebody fall, like you gotta make sure they can get back up. Like I'm the type of person, like I handle embarrassment like I handle my anger, or like any just extra balls of energy when it comes to like processing things that are happening in reality. Like I will sit there and laugh about it, but and some people, like, they get like triggered by that, and it's like I'm not laughing at you, I'm just laughing like, if you explain somebody the literal elements of what just happened right now, like, bro, that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's not funny to you because it happened and that's unfortunate, but I'm gonna still help you, I'm gonna still make sure you okay. But at the end of the day, like, I'm gonna be like, I'm like, damn, like, even if it was me, I'm gonna be sitting there like, God damn, that shit. Somebody gonna be on my ass about this shit. Let me go and get my ass up.
I
So,
understand
yeah.
that. And I think that's the same. I think honestly, it's just the fact that people do it is because of self-perception, and because they take themselves too seriously. I think that that's just where embarrassment. That's the reason embarrassment still lives in society now, or like the lack of confidence to move when there is no safety net there, is because of the fact that everyone low key, whether you acknowledge it or not, or if it's subconscious, has a small little people pleasing energy to the point where you either stick with it and you have that and you care about perception in some form of regard, or you eventually cut it out and you no longer give a crap about how it is that you are perceived, and you don't take yourself so seriously because you stop taking what everybody else is saying so seriously. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Well, do you have any more questions? Okay. Well, I appreciate you joining me for this conversation.
Yeah.
And I hope that it pulled out exactly what it needed to in regards of how to get through just everyday life situations. But I just checked the time and we have to go.
Because I'm like, I opened my eyes. I said, "Oh, it's over."
So we do have to go, and I know y'all do too. So if you want to let them know again where to find you, what you got going on. Go ahead and remind them, and then we're gonna be out of here.
Yeah, it was his deep side for me. He must have had a long day. Now, my name is Catherine Clark again. Outside of yapping, because I am a professional yapper, guys, I do create art about taboo shit and talk about love. And you can find my social medias on Instagram at sheiscatherine.clark. That is CATHERENE.CLARK. And that's YouTube as well. And then you can find my other social medias by looking in the bio on those platforms. Yeah, I'm a multidisciplinary creative. Go ahead and find me and get some therapeutic reparations. Love you. Be great.
Peace.